Namaste and welcome. It's Rishi here from meditatewithrishi.com, and today we are speaking about how you can reduce the amount of suffering that you feel if you have a really difficult person or difficult people in your life. We all have our our share of difficult people, right? And actually they can be a source of a lot of suffering for us, right? Because we are trying essentially to maintain, a very positive vibe, but from nowhere, this person comes and either they come out with bursts of anger, or they treat you unfairly, or they act in a selfish way, or, it could be anything, right? But in some way or another, they make your life difficult. They create suffering in you, suffering that you don't want, that you feel like, I wish this was not there, essentially. Okay, so I want to share with you something that you can do that will immediately, I'm not saying later, it will immediately reduce how much suffering you feel, how bad you feel when something like this happens. Okay, so before we get into that, I have got a gift for you. So if you're new to this channel, for my coaching clients, I've created something really cool called a peace cheat sheet. Okay, it is called the 11 yogic rules for daily peace. So these are 11 ways of living that will instantly increase the amount of peace that you feel every single day. If you like the sound of that, you can grab it at meditatewithrishi.com/cheat sheet. I will link it in the description box below. Okay. All right. So let's get into it. What is this one thing that you can do in order to reduce how bad you feel when someone is being difficult in your life? Okay. So here it is. It's actually realizing that their behavior has got nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. Okay, I'll say that again. Their behavior, it's realizing that their behavior has got nothing whatsoever to do with you and everything to do with them. So you should not take it personally. You should not be taking it personally, okay? So what do I mean by this? Because ultimately, you're probably thinking, well, they're directing all of their negative energy toward me. It is personal. It must be something to do with me, right? Wrong. Actually, it has to do with their own mental state, where they are, what is within them. Ultimately, anything that comes out of us is what is stored up within us, right? You cannot pour, if you have a glass of poison, you can't pour milk from it. Only poison can be poured from poison. So it's only what is within them already that is coming out. Okay, so have a look at this scale. This is the human scale of consciousness. It is an amazing representation of, you can call it, the vibrational frequency that we can ascend through as human beings, or our emotional states. Use any language that you like, but ultimately, from low to high, these are the different emotional states, frequencies, vibrational frequencies that we operate at as human beings, right? These are the different levels of consciousness that we operate in as human beings. Now, you'll notice at the bottom are the lower negative emotions like fear, like anger, like grief, right? And as you move up the scale, you move to the high level emotions like love, like peace, like joy, and ultimately there is enlightenment. Okay. Now, all of us, we are, within this vessel of skin and flesh. Within this, we are beings of energy, right? And all of us have got a base level frequency that we are operating at right now. So if you have somebody in your life that is quite difficult, just look at what kind of emotions they're coming out with. It's likely, if you're finding them difficult, that they are the lower level emotions that are coming out toward you, that you are not comfortable with. Okay. Now, what this means is that This is essentially what they're operating at. We're not going to go into why right now. You can say ultimately it is because of all of their experiences, thoughts, actions, karma, right? That this is where they're operating at right now. Now, ultimately, in their dealings with people, this is what's going to come out. A person that is operating at a level of, let's say, anger, for example, or fear, this is the only wavelength they can think in. They can't think in any other wavelength. So it's very natural that this person will, be difficult. They will be creating difficulty in your life because within them is a lot of turmoil. Essentially, within them is a lot of turmoil. It is just not possible for them to behave in any different way. Okay, and the longer this has been the case, the longer they have been, this in this type of vibration, the more they will be acting like that, right? The stronger, the more intense those bursts of anger or whatever it is may be, essentially. Okay, but the important thing for you, first and foremost, to understand is that it has got nothing to do with you. It has got everything to do with the fact that this is where they're vibrating right now. So what does this mean then? Okay, this means that if you know that it's got nothing to do with you, then you give yourself the space essentially to be able to respond instead of react when something happens. You give yourself the space to be able to respond instead of react when something happens. Okay, so reaction is when, let's say you have, if someone gets angry at you, you get angry at them back. If someone slaps you, you slap them back, right? That is a reaction. It's an impulse. And this is not good because this continues the chain. Just picture two people, slapping each other, right? So one slaps, the other one slaps back, the other one slaps back, the other one slaps back. It's ultimately, it's a never-ending game, right? But if one person, the only way to end that game is if one person steps back and decides that I'm not going to slap you back. Instead, I'm going to respond in a different way. I'm going to either forgive you or I'm going to walk away. It could be anything, ultimately, right? So once you realize that actually their behavior has got nothing to do with you, then you give yourself the power. You give yourself the power and the space to respond instead of react, okay? Now, the most important thing is that from here, right, because you have given yourself some space, you can now decide what you want to do about this situation. And there is really no right or wrong, okay? Because if you're in a space where you are feeling very, very peaceful, right? You're vibing at a really high frequency. You may decide that, I want to actually help this person. I want to help this person. And I'm going to try my best to just fill them with so much love, that they essentially are melted away by it. I'm gonna, expand their consciousness just by emanating a lot of love from myself. Okay. Now this is, by no means is this something easy to do, right? You have to be somebody that is vibing at a very, very, very high level to even have the patience to do this. There's a very high chance that this is not the case right now, especially if you're finding it difficult, if you're finding the behavior difficult. So in that case, it is very okay. It is very okay to say that, I actually do not have space for this kind of negativity in my life. And maybe I want to distance myself from it. Okay? You're not actually doing anything wrong by distancing yourself from it in whichever way you choose, because the biggest way that you can help somebody, is actually just by working on yourself. By becoming peaceful, becoming loving yourself is the only way that we can actually help somebody. It's the only way, right? Because ultimately, the high level frequencies like love, like peace, like joy, these are much more powerful than the low level emotions, okay? And they always win. Essentially. They are much more powerful. So in fact, in yoga, right, it is said that just by somebody expanding, let's take the Buddha, for example, right? The Buddha was, an enlightened being, right? Just by being in his presence, people's emotional state could change just like that, just by being in his presence, because he is radiating, he is emanating so much love, so much peace. So really the only way to help others, the only way to help, mankind, if it were, is to actually take yourself, to uplift yourself, to elevate yourself spiritually first. And the rest will just happen naturally. The rest will just happen naturally, essentially. So anytime you feel like, I'm not really in a place where I can do something about this, or I can help this person, it's because ultimately you feel like it's going to take much more energy to do that than you have currently. So what you want to do is you want to take a step back and just increase your own energy, And obviously the way to do that is through spiritual practice, through your meditation, essentially, through cultivating thoughts of loving kindness, through expanding your heart. This is why meditation is so key, okay? So we spoke about a lot of things over there, but the takeaway from this video is that if you want to reduce your suffering immediately, the one thing you need to do is to stop taking it personally, to realize that their behavior, no matter what it is, has got nothing to do with you, and everything just to do with them, essentially. Okay, so that is it. I really hope that helps. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. Thank you very much for listening. Namaste.